The most expensive slap in airline history landed on a black woman's face before boarding group 1 had even finished. "Ma'am, step back. Priority boarding is for real customers," the gate agent said, voice sharp enough to slice the noise at gate 32. Her name was Maya Carter. Locks pinned neatly, canvas tote, scuffed carry-on, simple jeans. On the surface, ordinary. In reality, the wrong woman to humiliate. But no one at the podium knew that yet. Maya's day began before sunrise. Coffee, a glance at hospital updates, a whispered promise to her little sister. "I'll be there before they wheel you in." She bought a cheap Skybridge Air ticket, Group 5. She wasn't asking for luxury, just a chance to make her connection and hold Nia's hand before surgery. Terminal B smelled like burnt coffee and jet fuel. The inbound plane had arrived late. Lines stretched. Overhead bins would fill, aisles would clog. Every minute lost pushed her further from the hospital. So she stepped from the economy crowd and approached the counter with the kind of soft voice that rarely gets recorded. "Excuse me, sir. My sister's in surgery this morning. If there's any way I could board with priority so I don't miss the connection." The agent finally looked up, not at her eyes, at her hair, her tote, her skin. "Priority? See the word priority on that ticket?" he said, louder now, angling his performance toward the nearby phones already lifting. "You people always got some emergency. You people." The phrase rang in her chest. Maya kept her tone level. "I'm not asking for an upgrade, just an exception." He stepped out from behind the podium. "Respect goes both ways," he said, close enough for her to smell the coffee on his breath. "You want priority? Pay for it. This isn't a discount bus." She swallowed. "Please don't talk to me like that." Later, lawyers would debate who moved first. Cameras would prove what she already knew. She hadn't touched him. What everyone would remember was the sound. The slap cracked across gate 32 like a dropped tray. Heat exploded across Maya's cheek. Her lips split against her teeth. Silence fell, then a rustle of gasps, then the steady rise of recording phones, hungry for virality. The agent straightened his tie, clicked the mic, and made the lie official. "Security to gate 32. Disruptive passenger assaulted staff." Maya blinked through the sting, steadying her breath while 2 officers arrived. Their eyes went to his badge before they saw her blood. "What's the situation?" one asked. She tried to shove past the line, the agent said smoothly. "Took a swing. I defended myself." Maya's voice came out soft but clear. "I didn't touch him. He hit me." Passengers shifted, guilty and quiet. A teenager whispered, "I got it on video." A businessman muttered, "Staff have it hard." Empathy hovered, afraid to land. "Ma'am, we need to step to the office," the officer said gently. Maya glanced at the departure board. On time, 10 minutes, and felt the familiar ache of a lifetime of swallowed moments. "Keep your head down," her mother had taught her. "Don't give them a reason." She had given no reason, and still she bled. Her phone buzzed in her palm. DC area code, one she knew by heart and almost never used. Chairman Elijah Ward. The man who'd mentored her into a job most executives feared. The man who signed off on international operating standards. The one person who would understand both the rules and the wound. "Officer," she said, meeting the agent's eyes at last, calm settling over her like a locked harness. "I'll cooperate. I just need to return this call. It concerns your airline." He smirked. "Call your cousin. You're still not boarding." Maya stepped aside, pressed redial, and lifted the phone. "Dr. Carter?" Ward's voice snapped taut with concern. "You never call this early. What happened?" At the name, a few heads turned. The agent's smile twitched. Maya watched him, the swelling in her cheek pulsing with each beat. "Chairman," she said, voice steady as a level runway. "I need to report a serious incident at LaGuardia, Skybridge Air, gate 32. An agent physically struck me after I requested accommodation for a family medical emergency. He then lied to security and labeled me disruptive. There are multiple witnesses and videos." Ward was quiet for half a breath. When he spoke, the temperature in the gate seemed to drop. "Understood. Are you safe?" "Yes." "Then listen carefully. Cooperate fully. Say nothing more to the agent. I'm initiating an emergency review. You'll be on a plane today." She ended the call and slipped the phone into her tote. The officer gestured toward the service hallway. Maya nodded and turned, but not before looking back at the podium. "You said nothing would happen," she told the agent, her voice almost kind. Something just did. In a glass tower miles away, phones would soon start ringing. Inspectors would clear their calendars. A hashtag none of them wanted would begin to trend. But at gate 32, all anyone saw was a quiet black woman with a swelling cheek walking calmly toward the back offices, carrying nothing more dangerous than a canvas tote and the right number in her contacts. Instant karma had boarded. The airline just didn't know it yet. The slap still burned on Maya Carter's cheek, but what burned hotter was the silence that followed it. The entire gate had seen it happen. Phones had recorded it. Yet as the gate agent lied about her being disruptive, not one person stepped forward. Not one. Security led her through the dull gray corridors behind the terminal, fluorescent lights humming overhead, echoes of wheels rolling against concrete. They placed her in a cramped office smelling of stale coffee and metal. "Please wait here, ma'am," the younger guard said. "Someone will take your statement." She nodded numbly, pressing a napkin against her lip. Her phone buzzed again. Chairman Ward, the man who oversaw the International Civil Aviation Commission. Her mentor. Her friend. The man she'd once promised never to involve in her personal troubles. She answered. "Dr. Carter?" His voice was calm, but underneath it was steel. "Tell me exactly what happened." Maya exhaled slowly. "I asked to board early, politely. My sister's in surgery this morning. He mocked me. Then he hit me. Security believed him when he said I attacked him. I'll miss my flight." Ward's silence lasted a beat too long. When he spoke again, his words were clipped and cold. "Are you safe?" "Yes." "Good. Do not argue. Do not raise your voice. Cooperate with security. I'm making calls." "Sir, I didn't want to use." "This isn't using power," he interrupted. "It's using justice. They assaulted a passenger under my jurisdiction. They'll wish they hadn't." He hung up. Maya stared at the phone. Somewhere deep inside, beneath the shock and pain, a spark flickered, small, dangerous, inevitable. Minutes later, two investigators entered the room. One, a Latina officer with kind eyes, handed Maya tissues. "Can you describe the incident?" Maya told them everything. The slur, the slap, the lies. Her voice shook only once. "There are at least 14 videos," she added. "And airport cameras." The male officer hesitated. "You want to press charges?" "Yes," she said simply. "I'm not the first person he's humiliated, but I'm going to be the last." Her phone buzzed again, notifications flooding in. Hashtag Skybridgegate trending, videos already spreading across the internet. Millions watching the moment a woman was slapped for asking for kindness. Somewhere in a high-rise office, panic was setting in. Skybridge Air Headquarters, 8:45 a.m. CEO Linda Hargrove stormed into the boardroom, tablet in hand. "What is this?" she snapped, showing the viral clip. "One of ours hit a passenger on camera?" Her communications director paled. "We're drafting a statement." "Draft faster. That's an assault, not a PR glitch." Her phone rang before she could finish the sentence. The display read, ICAC, Chairman Ward, secure line. "Ms. Hargrove," Ward said, voice like a verdict. "One of your agents assaulted an ICA investigator at LaGuardia. Her name is Dr. Maya Carter." The color drained from her face. "Carter? The Maya Carter?" "Yes. The same woman who wrote half the safety and conduct standards your airline is supposed to follow." "Chairman, please, this was one employee." "One employee," Ward interrupted, "representing your company's culture. The commission is initiating an emergency audit effective immediately." "An audit?" "Sir, this is not negotiable. Prepare for inspection." He hung up, leaving her in stunned silence. Around her, executives whispered in disbelief. "She's one of them? We're finished." Linda pressed a trembling hand to her forehead. "Suspend the agent. Contact PR. And pray she doesn't file criminal charges." But prayer wouldn't stop what was already in motion. Back in the security office, the officers returned. "Ma'am, you're cleared to go," one said awkwardly. "We reviewed the first videos coming in. It's clear you didn't start anything. We're sorry." Maya gave a weary nod. "Thank you." Her phone vibrated again, Ward's assistant this time. "Inspectors en route to Skybridge HQ. Prepare statement. We'll handle transport." Maya exhaled shakily. One phone call. That's all it took. Outside, passengers still walked by, oblivious to the storm building in the air. For them, the world looked normal. But somewhere in the glass towers of Skybridge, executives were scrambling, Phones were ringing nonstop, and legal teams were rewriting their careers. The gate agent who had mocked her still didn't know who she really was. He wouldn't for a few more hours. But when he did, when the inspectors arrived and the truth hit harder than any slap, he'd finally understand. You never know who you're dealing with. And for Skybridge Air, the reckoning had just begun. By mid-morning, Skybridge Air's glass headquarters outside Dallas no longer felt like a workplace. It felt like a crime scene. Security guards whispered to each other. Phones rang without pause. Executives who usually strutted down the halls now moved fast, heads down, clutching laptops like shields. 3 black SUVs rolled up to the entrance. Men and women in dark suits stepped out, flashing identification badges. International Civil Aviation Commission, National Aviation Authority, Department of Transportation, names that could end careers with a single signature. The receptionist stammered, "Do you have an appointment?" One inspector, a tall woman in a navy hijab, simply replied, "We don't need one. Emergency compliance review. Take us to your operations office." Within minutes, federal and international investigators flooded every department. They moved in coordinated silence, opening file drawers, copying digital records, demanding access to personnel data. Employee training certifications, one said. Complaint records for all gate agents, said another. And I want to start with a name, Darren Harrison. Upstairs, CEO Linda Hargrove watched the chaos through the glass wall of her corner office. Her COO burst in, pale and sweating. They're pulling 5 years of files. HR, customer service, everything. They said the order came directly from Chairman Ward. Linda's jaw clenched. Of course it did. He's protecting her. She tried to steady her breathing. Ward wasn't just powerful, he was untouchable. The ICAC didn't answer to shareholders or PR teams. They answered to governments. How bad is it, she asked. Her legal counsel, a gray-haired man with tired eyes, replied quietly. They're not here just for the slap. They're investigating systemic misconduct, racial bias, training violations, ignored complaints. Complaints, she repeated. We've had none. He hesitated. We've had dozens. Most were buried before they reached you. Linda's face went still. By whom? The answer came from HR, by Harrison's regional manager. Said it was easier than firing a good employee. Now, that decision threatened to collapse the entire airline. Down in human resources, the inspectors worked methodically. I need every complaint filed by passengers against gate staff, said lead investigator Samira Ahmed. The HR manager opened the system, fingers trembling on the keyboard. Here, there are 48 in total. Samira scanned the list. 48. Nearly all flagged as resolved or invalid. The pattern was unmistakable. Same airports, same staff, same language, rude tone, discriminatory remarks, inappropriate comments. This wasn't a bad apple, Samira said. This was a culture. In customer service, another team listened to call recordings. One complaint after another revealed the same story. Travelers of color treated like burdens, mocked for asking for help. An inspector scribbled notes. You didn't follow up on a single one of these, did you? The manager looked down. Corporate told us to avoid escalating minor incidents. Minor incidents, the inspector repeated flatly. You mean racial harassment? In the operations wing, Director James Holt flipped through flight logs. We're finding expired employee safety certificates, outdated training records, even falsified attendance logs. This isn't negligence, it's rot. Linda's phone rang again. The caller ID, Chairman Elijah Ward. Ms. Hargrove, he said. The investigation is proceeding smoothly. You should cooperate fully. Chairman, this is an overreaction. He cut her off. Your gate agent hit a passenger. That passenger wrote the compliance laws you're violating. The commission's patience is gone. You don't have an overreaction problem. You have a respect problem. The line went dead. Back at LaGuardia, Maya sat quietly in a small lounge arranged by the authorities. Her lip had been cleaned, her flight rescheduled, her phone buzzing nonstop with reporters and colleagues. She ignored them all. She'd done her part. Now the system she helped build was doing its job. Samira called her from headquarters. Maya, it's official, full audit. They're uncovering things you wouldn't believe. I'd believe, Maya said softly. That's the problem. By nightfall, the inspection team packed boxes of evidence, documents, emails, recordings, each labeled and sealed for federal review. One inspector looked up at Samira. Do you think they'll lose their license? She nodded grimly. If there's justice in the air, yes. In the quiet that followed, the city lights glimmered off the mirrored Skybridge Tower, an empire built on customer smiles and corporate slogans. Inside, those smiles had turned to panic. The airline's engines were still running, but its reputation had already crashed, and the woman they'd tried to silence had become the storm they couldn't escape. By dawn, the world had already chosen sides. The video, 36 seconds of disbelief, was everywhere. A woman's quiet voice, a man's raised hand, the slap that echoed louder than any announcement. Within hours, it had crossed languages, borders, and time zones. Hashtag Skybridge Smackdown. Hashtag Respect Passengers. Hashtag Maya Carter. Clips flooded every social feed. One version froze on Maya's shocked face with the caption, "She asked for help." He answered with his hand. Another slowed the footage down frame by frame, analyzing the agent's sneer as if it were evidence in a trial, which, in a way, it was. Talk shows dissected it. News anchors spoke of systemic disrespect. Celebrities posted solidarity hashtags. A morning host in London said, "You can almost see the moment power and prejudice collide." What no one yet knew was how fast the consequences were unfolding behind the scenes. At Skybridge's headquarters, the boardroom looked like a bunker. CEO Linda Hargrove sat at the head of the table, jaw locked, while a wall-mounted screen showed live news coverage. Every channel said the same thing: Skybridge under investigation for discrimination. "This is out of control," one director muttered. "We need a statement." Linda rubbed her temples. "We released one an hour ago." A PR executive read it aloud. "We are aware of the incident at LaGuardia and are conducting an internal review. Skybridge does not condone violence of any kind." The room fell silent. The words sounded hollow even to them. "People don't want statements," another director said. "They want consequences." "Then we'll give them one," Linda replied sharply. "Suspend the agent, issue an apology, announce diversity training." That should calm the noise. But the noise wasn't just outside anymore. It was inside, too. Employees had begun sharing their own experiences anonymously online. Ignored complaints, biased managers, racial jokes passed off as airport humor. One message on an internal forum read, "If anyone thinks this is new, they haven't worked a gate in years." By afternoon, hundreds of former passengers had come forward. One posted, "Same airport, same guy. He called me one of those coupon flyers." I reported it. Nothing happened. The pattern was impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, Maya was in Houston. The smell of antiseptic hung in the hospital corridors as she walked into her sister's room. Nia looked small beneath the blankets, tubes winding into her arm. Their mother sat beside the bed, her weathered hand stroking Nia's hair. "Mama," Maya said softly. Her mother turned. "You made it," she whispered, then frowned at the bruise on Maya's cheek. "Lord have mercy, what happened to you?" "It's nothing," Maya said. "Just something stupid at the airport." But the television on the wall betrayed her. Her face, frozen mid-shock, filled the screen. The headline screamed, "Airline agent suspended after attacking passenger." Her mother's eyes widened. "Baby, that's you." Nia reached for her hand, weak but smiling. "You're famous." Maya let out a dry laugh. "Infamous, maybe." Her mother shook her head slowly. "They picked the wrong woman this time." Maya felt tears press behind her eyes. She wanted to be strong for them, but exhaustion weighed heavier than anger. "I didn't want to start anything," she murmured. "I just wanted to get here in time." Her mother's voice was calm, steady. "Sometimes we don't start it. We just finish it." By evening, news vans lined the streets outside Skybridge headquarters. Former passengers held signs reading, "Dignity has no boarding group," and "Justice for Maya." Employees slipped out the side doors, avoiding cameras. Inside, panic had turned to despair. Legal teams warned of billion-dollar losses. Stockholders demanded resignations. One investor called the building directly. "You slapped the wrong person. Do you even know who she is?" Linda did now. The reports on her desk said it plainly. Dr. Maya Carter, senior investigator, International Civil Aviation Commission. "She's the one who wrote half our compliance policies," muttered her counsel. Linda's voice was barely a whisper. "And we broke everyone." That night, a photo of Maya leaving the hospital went viral. Tired eyes, bruise fading, holding her sister's hand. The caption read, "She didn't fight back. The world fought for her. Comment sections filled with stories of ordinary people treated poorly for the same reasons: appearance, accent, class, color. Strangers shared, cried, and raged together. In that collective outrage, something shifted. Airlines across the industry began issuing new guidelines overnight. Training sessions were scheduled, scripts rewritten. Competing CEOs tweeted condolences not from empathy, but from fear. They'd seen what happened when one woman's dignity became a global cause. And somewhere above the chaos, Chairman Ward prepared the next step. His message to regulators was simple: public trust in aviation is built on respect. Skybridge broke it. Fixing it is not optional. For the first time in decades, the entire industry was watching not a crash, not a scandal, but a reckoning. And at the center of it all stood a quiet woman with a healing bruise, proof that sometimes justice doesn't whisper. It roars. The hearing room felt like a courtroom built in the clouds. Rows of cameras, 100 reporters, and a row of officials whose signatures could erase an airline from the sky. At the front sat Chairman Elijah Ward, flanked by international commissioners and aviation regulators. The air was thick with the quiet hum of microphones. Every movement echoed. Every word would be broadcast worldwide. On one side, Skybridge Air, CEO Linda Hargrove, her legal team, and a small army of executives in dark suits. Faces pale, eyes sunken, clutching folders as if paper could protect them from justice. On the other, Dr. Maya Carter, calm, composed, the faintest scar of the slap still visible under her makeup. The woman they had humiliated now sat as witness, not victim. Ward's voice filled the room. This hearing is convened to determine whether Skybridge Air remains fit to operate under the standards of human dignity and safety required by international law. Linda rose. Chairman Ward, members of the commission, Skybridge acknowledges the regrettable incident at LaGuardia. We've terminated the employee responsible, issued apologies, and launched internal training reforms. We ask for the opportunity to correct our course. Ward's eyes were sharp but steady. Ms. Hargrove, an apology after violence is not reform, it's public relations. We're not here to discuss one slap. We're here to discuss why it was possible. He gestured toward Director Samira Ahmed. She read from a thick report. Over the past 5 years, Skybridge received 73 formal complaints involving racial discrimination or verbal abuse. 48 of those complaints named the same 6 employees. None resulted in disciplinary action. A ripple of murmurs moved through the audience. Cameras clicked. Linda's lawyers exchanged glances. They had known the numbers were bad, but not this bad. Samira continued. Additionally, multiple employees reported being told to avoid escalating issues with difficult passengers. Translated: ignore prejudice if it keeps boarding on schedule. Ward turned to Maya. Dr. Carter, please tell us what you experienced that morning. Maya leaned toward the microphone. Her voice carried not anger, but weary truth. I asked to board early. I explained my sister was in surgery. He looked me up and down like I wasn't worth an answer. When I tried again, politely, he hit me. Then he lied. She paused. The silence was so complete it seemed even the cameras stopped breathing. I wasn't dressed rich. I wasn't in first class. I was just a black woman asking for kindness. He saw what he wanted to see, someone beneath him. But I was following the same rules as everyone else. Ward nodded. And you are also an investigator in the International Civil Aviation Commission. Yes, she said. But that day, I was just a passenger. Ward's gaze shifted to Linda. Ms. Hargrove, do you understand what that means? You didn't just mistreat an official. You mistreated the very people who keep your planes in the air. Every traveler who trusts you with their life. That's who she represents. Linda's composure cracked for the first time. I understand, Chairman. But grounding Skybridge would destroy thousands of jobs. Ward interrupted softly. And how many lives have your policies quietly destroyed already? The words hit like a hammer. After hours of testimony, the panel withdrew to deliberate. Cameras panned across the tense room. Executives whispered. Maya sat silently, hands clasped in her lap, her mother's voice echoing in her mind. Sometimes we don't start it. We just finish it. When the commissioners returned, Ward held a single sheet of paper. His tone was formal, unflinching. After reviewing the findings of the International Civil Aviation Commission and the National Aviation Authority, we have reached a unanimous conclusion. He looked up. Skybridge Air is hereby found in violation of international passenger rights, civil conduct standards, and anti-discrimination laws. Effective immediately, Skybridge's international operating license is revoked. Gasps rippled across the room. Reporters lunged forward. Linda sank back in her chair, eyes wide, mouth open but silent. Ward continued. This decision is not punishment, it is protection. Until Skybridge rebuilds a culture of respect, it will not fly under our skies. Maya closed her eyes. It wasn't triumph she felt, it was release. For once, the quiet woman in line had been heard louder than the man with the microphone. Outside, the cameras waited. Protesters cheered. The news spread like sunrise, Skybridge grounded. Justice in the air. And high above them all, where airplanes sliced through clouds, the message was clear: disrespect has consequences. Because in the modern sky, even one slap can bring an empire down. The audience stood and applauded. Maya didn't wave. She simply placed a hand over her heart. Because it was never about applause, it was about awareness. When she left that night, a young trainee stopped her at the door. "Dr. Carter," he said nervously, "I just wanted to say, I joined this field because of you. I want to make sure no one ever feels small at my gate." She smiled. "Then you're already doing it right." He grinned. "Can I ask, after everything, do you still love to fly?" Maya glanced out at the runway lights blinking like stars. "Yes," she said, "but not because of the planes. Because of what they represent, second chances." The camera of the world would fade out there. A quiet woman walking toward a window, her reflection merging with the clouds.